mistake that I see made is that people make decisions just based upon saying, oh, if I delay Social Security, it's going to be a bigger benefit, which is true. But the things that you're not considering are, this has the potential to save you about $192,000 in potential taxes and has the potential to increase your portfolio over about $800,000. The question is, David, when should we take Social Security? And the answer is, it depends, as there's many pros and cons to consider. We're going to dive deep and go in depth and talk about the disadvantages and advantages of taking Social Security earlier versus delaying and taking it later. So here we have as a hypothetical client example, Tim and Tammy Sample. We're just going to go real quickly through their overview so you can kind of see the type of potential client we're dealing with, and then we'll dive into what their questions were with Social Security. So you can see that both of them have about $1.3 million in total assets. Tammy's got about $500,000 in an IRA. Tim has $500,000 in an IRA. He's got $200,000 in a Roth, and they have about $100,000 in savings. Okay, so we can go through their facts. They're both about 61 years old. They both want to retire next year, so they want to retire early at 62. And then life expectancy, they believe they're going to live until at least 90. And of course, one of their goals is they don't want to run out of money. Okay, so here are some of their financial priorities. The main topic, again, is Social Security maximization. What if they take it earlier versus later? What are the pros and cons, which is we're going to cover here. They both are seeking retirement planning and investment management. You got to consider taxes in this situation. And of course, they both don't want to run out of money. They want about $120,000 in retirement starting in age 62. As far as their income, they're going to have Social Security. So this is their Social Security amounts at age 67, which is their full retirement age. And this is full retirement age is the year that you can take Social Security without a reduction. And then Tim also has a pension. Basically, we want to consider is the earliest you could take Social Security is 62. And then if you delay Social Security all the way till age 70, under current rules, that you get an 8% increase on your benefit. And I think the mistake that I see made, and again, I've been doing this now for 26 years, the mistake that I see made is that people make decisions just based upon saying, oh, if I delay Social Security, it's going to be a bigger benefit, which is true. But the things that you're not considering are taxes. So the questions are, what are the tax implications if you take Social Security earlier versus later? What about your investable assets? Right? If you take Social Security later, you're going to have to lean on your savings, your retirement accounts to bridge the gap. So what's more important to you, that your Social Security benefit is bigger or your pool of investments is bigger? We're going to talk about that as well. And then, of course, the third thing is that you got to understand or at least have an idea of your longevity. How long are you going to live? Because there's a break-even point. If you take Social Security early and die quick, that could be a problem. Or if you wait to take Social Security until later and you die early, then you left a lot of money on the table. We're going to go through next is a cash flow report. We're going to just compare some comparisons on taking Social Security early versus later. So now we're in their cash flow report. And essentially with the cash flow report, it shows them, and this is their base facts. So in their base facts, for this example, we're having them take Social Security at their full retirement age, which is age 67. Okay. So what you're going to notice, this little orange dot here is when they want to retire. The money in the red in the parentheses is the money that they need to pull from their investments to hit their income goal, which is $120,000. Total expenses, you can see in retirement is actually $144,000. That's factoring in inflation and taxes. Income flows would be their pension. If you go down here, you can see at age 67, you can see that their income flows jump up because that's when they're taking Social Security. So in the first 5 years that they're delaying Social Security, you see that they have to take distributions from their assets to satisfy their income. And then once their pensions and Social Security are triggered, then they don't have an income gap. And then you can see that their assets are growing. So the first comparison that we're going to make here is, what if we take Social Security later at age 70? What is the impact on their overall portfolio? So what you're going to see is if we go all the way down, first of all, you'll notice that if you're delaying Social Security till age 70, in this example right here, they have to pull more from their investable assets. That's obvious, right? Because they've got to make up the difference as they're waiting till age 70. So, but if we go all the way down and compare their investable assets, what you're going to notice in their base case example where they're taking Social Security early at age 67, their full retirement age, versus age 70, well, you're going to notice about an estimation of a $400,000 difference in their investments. So in this first example, again, we're comparing taking Social Security at their full retirement age 67, versus delaying it, the advantage of taking Social Security earlier in this example, their full retirement age 67, is that you have about a $400,000 more in investable assets. So the question you need to ask yourself is just not, hey, let's delay Social Security and get a bigger benefit. What's more important to you, that your Social Security benefit is bigger or that your pool of investments is larger? Because $400,000 is a lot of money. You got to think about, as you get older, healthcare, long-term care. You may want to give more money to your kids. Down the road, you may want to buy a second home. So that's one advantage of taking Social Security at your full retirement age versus age 70, is that your investments will be worth more. Now what we want to do is compare, what if we take Social Security at age 62, right, versus age 67? So we're going to compare all these scenarios. What you're going to see here is, if I take Social Security at age 62 versus age 67, my investable assets now are worth $3.5 million versus $2.8 million. That's $700,000 worth of investments. To me, that's a pretty big deal, right? Now, I'm not recommending that everyone should take Social Security early, because I don't know anyone's situation. And in a BAM advisory group, no two clients are the same. We truly customize plans so that we can make sure that your plan is catered to you. But in this example, now what we're saying is, again, we'll go here. To the left is the base facts with taking Social Security at 62. To the right is just our base facts, which is taking Social Security at age 67. And just here again, living till age 90, if you do take Social Security at age 62 versus 67, the net positive effect is that you have over $700,000 potentially of more assets. That's a pretty big consideration. Most advisors just say this, just take Social Security later at age 70, right? In this case, maybe you want more, maybe your investable assets are important. Now let's compare taking Social Security at age 62 to age 70. And again, this is just cash flow. We're going to get into taxes here in a minute. So again, to the left, we have the base facts with us taking Social Security at 62 versus the base facts with us taking Social Security at age 70. Now what you're going to see is your investable assets at age 90, potentially $3.5 million if you take Social Security early at age 62, or $2.4 million if you take Social Security at age 70. That's over $1 million of more, potentially more investable assets. You cannot tell me that that should not be a consideration point when it comes to filing Social Security. It's really simple. If you have something that will pay you defined income and you're going to live a long life, sometimes it makes sense to take that defined income, in this example, Social Security, early. And then we're talking about 8-year difference. So you're not pulling from your investable assets. And now you have all that money growing in your investments longer. This is why there's almost $1 million more if we take it at age 62 versus age 70. So that's something that you definitely got to consider. All right. So now what we're going to talk about are, what are the pros and cons when you take Social Security earlier versus later, and the implication of taxes. Earlier, we talked about cash flow, and I think it was pretty apparent that some of the advantages of taking Social Security earlier versus later is your investable assets are going to be worth more. Now we're going to talk about taxes. So in this example here, what we're saying is that for Tim and Tammy Sample, under their base case, which is taking Social Security at their full retirement age, for both of them is age 67, their estimated lifetime tax is about $980,000. So now what happens if we take Social Security earlier? What impact, if any, does that have on their taxes? So let's say taking Social Security earlier. Apples for apples. The only difference is taking Social Security earlier versus later. So what you're going to see is, by these clients doing tax planning and taking Social Security early, which is 62 versus 67, over their lifetime, they have the potential to decrease their overall lifetime taxes by $100,000. That's pretty significant. $100,000 in tax savings is valuable. But the real value is the tax alpha, or the tax efficient assets they create in their portfolio. But again, by taking Social Security earlier and doing tax planning versus taking Social Security later and doing tax planning, is over $2.6 million in potential portfolio value increase. So that is extremely valuable, right? So what we're saying is that if you took Social Security later at full retirement age versus 62, and you're doing tax planning in both scenarios, taking Social Security early at 62 provides the potential outcome of tax savings about $103,000, and then potentially increasing your portfolio assets by $2.7 million. That's something to consider. What if we say, well, let's wait to take Social Security to age 70? What does that look like? Now, this has the potential to save you about $192,000 in potential taxes and has the potential to increase your portfolio over about $800,000. So if we're comparing taking Social Security at your full retirement age to age 70, the advantage here is in doing tax planning in both scenarios. The advantage here is it has the potential to, save you about $192,000 in taxes, where if you're comparing this to age 62, it's only $100,000. But in the previous example, that had the potential increase in your overall portfolio value by $2.6 million, where here it only has the potential to increase your portfolio value by $800,000. So again, what we're trying to get across, it's just not considering when to take Social Security. 62, full retirement at 70. What is the impact on cash flow? What is the impact on taxes? So there's a whole bunch of different things that you have to consider. Now, the last thing that we want to compare is, what if you take Social Security early at 62 versus delaying at age 70? You're doing tax planning in both scenarios. What is the impact? So we have to kind of show this a little bit differently. Sorry, we're going to go back into the reports. We're going to go in the asset tab. And now we're going to say, okay, let's take Social Security at age 62 versus waiting until age 70. What is the net effect, if anything, when it comes to your portfolio? So what you're going to see is, and again, to the left is doing tax planning at age 62, taking Social Security at age 62, and then comparing that to tax planning at age 70. What is the potential net result? So you can see the net result is, if we're taking Social Security earlier and doing tax planning, we may leave about $5.5 million behind. But if we do take Social Security at age 70 and do tax planning, it has the potential to leave $3.6 million behind. I mean, that's almost a $2 million net difference in assets. And really the synopsis is, if you wait till age 70 to take Social Security versus age 62, it's real simple. That's 8 more years of you taking distributions. So you can see in this example, that's a lot less money you can leave behind. If legacy planning is important to you, then in this example, it would make sense to take Social Security early at 62 and do tax planning, right? Where you could leave potentially $5.5 million behind versus taking Social Security later at age 70 and leaving $3.7 million behind. So again, it just depends on your situation. What are your goals? Is cash flow more important to you? Is reducing taxes more important to you? Is it increasing your tax alpha that much more important to you? There's just no one cookie cutter approach. So by working with a firm that specializes in these types of scenarios where they can compare it side by side, it allows you, the potential client, to make the best informed decision so that you can keep more of your wealth, pay less taxes, pass more money behind to your beneficiaries. This is how at BAM Advisory Group, we protect what's priceless for our clients. And you just spend more time doing what you love with those that you love. If you're curious about how we help people protect what matters most in their retirement, and you just want to see how our process works for you, give us a call or visit our website at www.bamadvisorygroup.com. You can schedule a 15-minute, no cost, no obligation, no pressure phone call with one of our advisors to get all of your questions answered, to understand your options, and for us to be able to provide you with more information and clarity. And if you're enjoying the show, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you all real soon.